Hello makers and welcome back to the studio. Now today I want to work on another cut paper collage project, and this one's an interesting one that's going to use more geometric shapes for what we're trying to work on here. And we're going to be working predominantly with semicircles. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So one of the things we're going to need to figure out along the way is how do we create semicircles, and also what are we creating them with. Now I want to be able to work with cut paper today, and today I'm going back into my paper books. So I've mentioned these in previous videos. These were books that were available at Michael's a couple of years ago, back when scrapbooking was more of a craze. And since then, they're a little harder to find now, although every so often there'll be something there. But the thing that's nice about these is I have the blues, and it allows me to come in here and get a wide spectrum of colors that have an interrelationship. And so when I'm thinking about planning projects, it allows me to go in and say, all right, I want a blue color, and go to my book. Now, by the way, you may not necessarily find these at your local Michael's, but if you go into eBay or any kind of other secondary sales arena like Amazon Marketplace, you can find people who are selling these slightly used. That's right. I bought it, used one piece of paper, and now I want to sell the rest of it. So you can get a good deal on that if you're looking for these. And the thing I like about these is they're 12 inches by 12 inches. And it just makes it easier for me to work on big projects that have just a bigger piece of paper that I want to work with here. But we can also work with, if you have 8.5 by 11 sheets of colored cardstock, those will work just fine for what we're doing as well. Now for today's project, we're going to be making this. Yeah, we're going to be making one of these. Now, I haven't seen it yet. I hope it turned out well, but I'll give you a sense of what we're going to be working on. As you can see, it's fun. It's interesting from an abstract standpoint, and as you'll see, it's not going to be too crazy hard for us to make one of these as part of our 1-hour masterpiece program. So to begin with, let's talk a little bit about what I want to be able to do here. And I'm going to start with this piece of paper I have in front of me. Again, this is a sized 18 by 24 inch piece of Strathmore heavy duty watercolor paper. And by the way, I'll leave all the information for all of the tools we're using in this build down in the description below. But this is my go-to paper. I love the texture of it. I love the weight of it. It gives me a good surface to glue things onto, which is what we're going to be doing today. And overall, yeah, just a good piece of paper to work with here. And again, we're going to be also working with these colored pieces of paper. We need to go find the right colors for our palette for what we need to do. Now, again, a lot of times, in my mind's eye, I have we could do one of these moments. And you never know until you get there if it's going to turn out the way you want it to turn out. So let's just kind of wander through some of my initial thoughts when it comes to the paper and how I want to work on this project. You know more than I do already. I haven't seen the final, but I'll explore it along the way. So I'm thinking I want to start with kind of some subtle colors in the background. And by the way, I have the Blush Romance collection here. Yeah, that's right. A lot of softer pastel-y colors. And one of the things I'm thinking about is see if I can find kind of a peach color. And you know what? I have something here that I think will actually foot the bill. So I'm going to grab a sheet of this out of here because I do want a full size for this particular thing. Oops, let's see if I can get that clean. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right. So I have myself a good starting point. Now my thought here is I want to have something that's going to be maybe a quarter circle, a semicircle, but it's going to be big. And I wanted to take over the lower left-hand quadrant of my paper here. I'm thinking something that kind of curves from here to here. Now, how do I make that big a circle? Well, it's a great question. You could grab your scissors and just go to town. No, you probably couldn't. If your skills are like mine, that's probably not going to be a perfect circle by the time you're done. So what I've done is I'm going to work with the employ of a new tool that I have, and that is this. It's my Mr. Pen compass. Now, I think the last time I actually used a compass may have been sometime in high school when I was taking a geometry course. But the thing I like about the Mr. Pen compass, which, by the way, I'll list that down below as well. It wasn't that expensive considering what it does, is that it allows you to go and, of course, make circles, which is high on the list of what we want for a compass. But it allows me to also make up to 18-inch diameter circle. So how do I do that with this little thing? Well, it has an extension arm like this. And so what I'm going to do, and let's just see, I'm going to loosen this nut here and pull my nib out. And then I can put this extender in here like that. Let's crank that down. Come on, whoops. There we go, that's tightened down. And then I'm going to take my nib and I'm going to bring it over here and I'm going to plug it in on the end. Again, I might need to loosen that up just a little bit. There we go. It's in. And let's get this tightened up here as well. Lots of little things to adjust and tighten. So if you have lots and lots of shapes, you might want to work on that. But that's what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. And what this allows me to do, of course, now is if I wanted to really take advantage of this piece of paper and get most of it and just get a semicircle, then I could start by putting my piece up there and get a sense. Now, still doesn't look like it's doing much, but what I can do here is I have a little wheel that allows me to widen this a little bit. And also I have these quick release knobs or levers. I can push them down and allows me to spread this in and out quickly, depending on what my needs are, which is going to be pretty big. So this gets me almost all the way down to the corner there and up to the corner there. And so I'm going to, by the way, I'm going to move my large piece of paper out of the way just so I don't end up putting holes in it inadvertently by working with my compass. But let's get in here and I'm going to go and drag a line. There we go. So exactly what I was hoping to do. Now I'm going to feel more comfortable grabbing my pair of trusty scissors and let me just clip along this line and I'll stay within the line so I don't have to worry about erasing it. Another great trick when you're cutting things with lines on them is if you do have part of the line that ends up staying, all you simply need to do is turn the piece of paper over, if it's a shape like this, and automatically, yeah, the lines are all gone. You can't see them anymore. You paste that side down. Here we go. Getting close. Good. All right, that looks pretty good. And sometimes I'll just kind of hold it up against a dark background of some sort so I could look at it and get a sense. That actually turned out pretty well. Sometimes I surprise myself with, my cutting capabilities. But now I can come and do a bit of a dry fit in here. What I want to do is just see, if I put it down in this corner like that, how does it look? And again, there's not a lot to compare it against right now, but I think this is going to be a good foundation. It's going to create a horizon line for me because there are things above the line that I want to work on as well. I want to create interrelationships between these different shapes. So that may work out nicely for what I need to do. Now, I'm not going to glue anything down just yet, A, because I don't need to, and B, because it gives me some flexibility if I want to move things around and test them out. Because sometimes, again, you don't necessarily know what you're getting into until you get into it. And I find that being able to have some flexibility, every so often you discover new things that you really didn't think of initially, like, wait, if I do this, this looks better. So we're going to kind of go along with what's in my mind's eye, and we'll see what happens with that. But that's a good start. Now, one of the things I'm thinking about here is, while this is a great starting point, I'm thinking of this more as a kind of a foundational piece and a foundational color. And so it's kind of a background color. And as a background color, I don't want it to be the color that stands out. I want it to be a little bit more like wallpaper, really. It's there, but you don't pay attention to it. So is there something I can put on top of it from a color and a shape standpoint that will help really pop out? And I think there is. And I'm going to go in. I have actually, this is really a fun block of paper in the sense that while it has all these different colors, if I flip it over to the other side, the color is different on each side of the paper. So you can say, oh, do I want that color or that color? Right? So there's some really cool things that we can do in here. And I'm going to go with this. I have this kind of peachy, which is off pink, off orange. And I think I've got the perfect companion color in this this goldenrod. All right? No, actually, I like this. This orange really pops out nicely. So I'm thinking, you know what? Yeah, let's make that happen. So I'm going to create something that's going to be, it's going to overlap this, and it's going to create kind of a couple different rings, right? We'll have the darker orange here and the peachy color out there. So I need to also, once again, get my compass into play here. And I don't think I need the full extension this time. So let me, again, deconstruct this quickly. And without stabbing myself. That's the main goal right here. Don't cause yourself to bleed for the sake of your art. All right. So in this case, let me use my original piece here as kind of a template for what I'm trying to do. And I'm thinking I want the orange to kind of come up to about here, let's say. So I can come and get a quick measurement, again, with these quick release. Saying, well, I think if we go full extension, that's exactly where I want it to be. Yeah, right about there, right about there. All right, so let's take the piece of goldenrod now. Similar situation. And let's get a line drawn like that. Okay, and again, just get a sense of what that's going to look like. I think that's going to be great. All right, I'm committed now. Let's get in here and get some scissors on this. Okay, and again, I think that cutting looks pretty good. It's pretty smooth. But here's where the magic happens. Is now when I work with these two colors together and do an overlap. That's what I envisioned. So I'm kind of getting a dual tone approach here. That's what I want to do. Now, in order to make this happen, I'm going to commit to this. Let me grab a glue stick, and I'm going to do a little bit of pasting here. Now, as I've talked about in previous videos, a lot of times when I'm pasting things, I'll have a sacrificial piece of paper, like copier paper or something I don't mind throwing away and getting glue all over. Yeah, I didn't plan that far ahead this time. So I'm going to work on my cutting mat, which sometimes becomes my gluing mat. And it just means that I need to grab a sponge at some point in the not too distant future and just get rid of all the adhesive that builds up on here. And I get paint on here too. So every so often I'll go to my cutting mat and I'll just give it a bath and scrub it down and make it pretty again. And that's what I intend to do with this. So if I get a little paste on it, not a big issue. And let's get that in there. Good, make sure we get all the nooks and crannies. And then let's get this overlaid here. And the glue will stay flexible for a few moments. Allow us to get this into place. And there, make sure we do that. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And by the way, I have a tool, which I've shared before. It's a little platen roller. It's used for printmaking, and it's used for picking up ink and putting it on the surfaces you want to print with. But I find it's a great tool when you want to press paper to other paper that's been glued, and it just makes the bond between the different pieces of paper really tight. And that just makes it a lot easier, because we don't want this paper lifting up in the future because we didn't get it pushed down firmly enough. But there we go. Okay, and by the way, all my leftover pieces of paper here end up going into the magic milk crate underneath my desk, which is stores all these previously cut pieces of paper, and I can use them in future projects. So now let's do just a dry fit with the two pieces that are glued together, and popping out, starting to happen the way I want it to happen. That's a good thing. And yeah, I'm not ready to commit to it fully yet, but we'll get there. Let's try a little bit more of dry fitting. And one of the things I'm thinking about is creating an interrelationship between this shape and a shape above it somewhere. So this white space that currently is unoccupied, I'm thinking maybe another half circle, but this one bending the other way. So we have kind of a curve this way, and now we'll have a curve the other way. So again, from a paper choosing standpoint, let's see what I have to work with here. And I have a couple of different blues. I'm thinking blue would work really well here. I've got a bright blue on one side. Let me go to my blue book, since I have one, and let's see if there's something in here that will really fit that. There we go. I'm thinking like a darker navy, something that will allow a different, lighter color to pop on top of it. Would be what I want to be able to do here. So let's use this as our candidate page. And what am I trying to do here? Well, again, if I put the piece I've already prepared in place and think, all right, I want to create an interrelationship between this and a piece above it. And I'm thinking of an arc that kind of goes from here to here. Maybe leave a little bit of white on the side and just cover a little bit of that orange color. So again, I can come in here with my trusty compass. Now, by the way, what happens if you don't have a trusty compass? Because I know not everyone is walking around with Mr. Pen, but, and by the way, for I think it was just shy of $10, so it's not a major extravagant expenditure, but you know what? You may have other things in your life that will help you to make some perfect circles, including, and I'm not kidding, yeah, mixing bowls. Yeah, you go to the kitchen and say, I've got pots and pans and other things that are perfectly round. And this allows us to come in here, and again, we could use this as really the template and say, all right, put that on a piece of paper And let's cut that. Now, will that work for what we're doing? Who knows? Let's find out. So if I put this blue piece of paper here, I say, all right, I kind of want this piece of paper to overlap the orange a little bit. All right. We'll get kind of the interrelationship between this color and this color and this one. And go over to about here. Can I do that with, nah, it looks a little too small for what I want to do, truthfully. But in certain cases, maybe we'll get a chance to use the mixing bowl. It's just proof of concept. Instead, let me come in here, and again, if I use my compass, I can get a sense of what the interrelationship is. And if I try to find roughly the center point here, and say, okay, if I were to cut an arc from here to here and from here to here, that's a little bit bigger than I want, actually. So I'm going to bring that in a tiny bit. And again, try to get a sense. If I go from here to here, I think that will work. I think that will work. So let's commit to that. I'm going to make myself a line. Beautiful. Might not be able to see that very well. Fortunately, I can see it enough to cut it. And let's get in here and let's make ourselves a semicircle. And it's okay to take your time. You know, obviously when you're filming some sort of lesson on art, you don't want to, you know, the joys of watching other people cut out paper are limited. I'll acknowledge that. But if you have an opportunity to take it slow and get what you want, do it that way. All right. I'm not hating that. I'm not hating that at all. I think that's going to work out pretty nicely for what I want to do. Again, I don't know what I want to do. I'm winging this, so we'll see what happens. I'm just trying to make colors that really talk to each other in here. Now, one of the things I'm thinking about is I want to have I want to do a similar kind of thing where I have an inner color, and it would be a semicircle that sits here in this blue here. And I'm thinking of a brighter blue, something a little bit more sky blue. Yeah, look into the magic bin. Well, there's one color. I don't know if that's the one I'm looking for. Well, here's a more of a sky blue color. Let's see what else I have in the spectrum. There's a few things in here that might work. Looks like they're very close. And I like this one here. Yeah, I think it's not too pale. It's going to pop out nicely against that blue. Yeah, I think we have a winner here. So I'm going to use a scrap that I've already worked on, so I don't feel like I'm cutting into a brand new sheet. And again, I'm looking for something that will serve as the center of this to a certain degree. And so, and by the way, I don't know exactly where the center of the circle is, but I'm going to try to get a sense of how big this should be. And I think that's okay. I think that's okay. So I'm just push my page out of the way so I have some room to work here. And I'm going to work on the edge. Will that give me what I need? Probably not. All right. Trying to not waste paper as much as I can and get as much use out of any single sheet. But this will work. There we go. So that's going to be my next shape. And let's get that cut out. It's when you need like cutting music, right? Just a theme song that pops up whenever Spider is cutting something in the studio. Fortunately, through the miracles of digital video editing, we can speed things up when it gets really dull. But there we go. So we'll see how that goes. I think it's a good size. I'm trying to figure out if it's too big. Maybe it should be a little smaller. But again, I want the color to really pop. And again, you're starting to see, hopefully, the interrelationship between these two pieces is kind of coming together. And the way these colors work together, and also the shape. This kind of swoops into this. It's almost like we're following a path of some sort. So some pretty cool things. All right, let me get this the bright blue pasted in on the darker blue here. So, trusty glue stick comes out. And let's try to find our center point here as best we can. I'm just going to eyeball it. I mean, I suppose if I were really really, really, really concerned I could come in here and I could measure it. I think that's going to be close enough. You know, unless somebody's going to come in here with a ruler and measure my work, get their face right up in it, and you were off by 2 millimeters. I don't think that's going to be an issue. So, all right, there we go. So we have a kind of a bottom foundation, and we have something that's really helping establish the top part as well. Just make sure we're getting this the way we want it. And again, the beautiful thing about being able to dry fit these things, let me just roll this, by the way, fast, just to make sure it's stuck down nice. Yeah. This kind of goes in the center there. We'll see if we want to put something in here. I'm imagining we do, and we have some white space up here. You know what? I'm going to commit. And committing means gluing in this case. So let me grab my trusty glue stick. I'm going to get this piece stuck down first. And again, let me just get my paper out of the way so I can get glue on things without inadvertently gluing that piece of paper. That's not my objective. And again, when you're working with the glue sticks, you know, make sure you get those edges as best you can, simply because that's where things are going to lift. And so when you are gluing stuff down, you don't want to have your edges sticking up. It makes it a little bit harder to fix in the future. And, you know, take it easy in the sense that the paste here will give you a couple minutes to work with. You don't have to be too fast. Sometimes I have found that when you're working with glue sticks, especially if it's a dry day, you might have to race a little bit more than if it's humid, which makes a certain amount of sense because this purple is only visible while the glue is wet. And once it dries, you can't see it anymore. All right, I think that served its purpose. So let me get it back in here. Let me try to line this up best I can. And get you over to the edge of the page, please. And good enough. Okay, let's get this. By the way, it's always good to have a little paper towel on hand, just because, especially when you're gluing. Try to not to get it on too many other things. Again, this purple will fade very quickly once the glue dries, so it's less of an issue. There we go. My roller needs a little glue, I think. A little oil, I mean. Okay, so that's good. So let's do the same thing with the blue piece. Let's get this up in here. And again, I kind of like just like that. I think it's coming together nicely. And by the way, you know, let the paper talk to you. One of the nice things about working working with paper, first of all, it's pretty flexible. One of the things that's really nice about working on abstract designs is there's no right answer. Now, I will probably mention that I think there are better answers. There are times when we are putting things together and it just, your brain's like, yeah, no, that's not working. And there are times you shift it over a little bit and your brain goes, ooh, like that. It's kind of like trying to put a sofa in a living room, right? You just, you know, where does it go? Like, there it is, exactly where we need to have it. So the beautiful thing about working with paper is you can dry fit things, you can try them in various incarnations and get a sense if that's working for you. Again, I'm going to try to get these up tight to one another. I don't want to have any white space between the two. Yeah, we're successful. Let's get that pushed down nice and firmly. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not unhappy with that at all. I think that's looking really, really slick. Cool. All right. What do we do next? Well, again, I'm trying to figure out this exploration between colors. Oh, by the way, notice I got a little bit of a lift here. I'm noticing that this, for some reason, didn't get fully stuck down. So strike when the opportunity is good. Get some additional glue on that. And I'll get that down. I'm going to wipe the top of my glue here off so I can cap it for now. And let's focus back on some pieces of paper. And I want to create something that's really polychromatic, meaning it has a lot of the colors, up to 70% of the different colors you might find in the rainbow. And so in this scenario, I'm going to come in here and, you know what, let's introduce some green. I think some green here will work out. And again, do I have anything in the mystery bin that I can draw from? Well, it turns out I have my green book in the mystery bin, not where it should be. Those are nice colors, but I don't think those are what I'm looking for. I'm looking for really kind of just a standard dark green color. Oh, actually, I do have a piece. I do have a piece that I can work with. That'll be perfect for what we're doing, which is this piece right here. And I'm thinking I want to create an arc that will kind of fill in this space. Maybe, again, leave a little bit of white there, because think about white as a color that you can really work with here. We don't need to obscure all the white. We're going to use it as a way to create good contrast between our colors, of course, and the background. Again, let me grab my compass here and just get a sense of how big we're talking. So if I go from there to there, I'm thinking I want the green to kind of overlap a little bit. So maybe a little bit wider. And so if I were to say, let's leave some white space there, let's bring it up. Looks perfect. I think that's going to be kind of fun. We'll leave a little bit of white on the edge. Why the heck not? So let's come in here. Again, I can use my compass to measure and get as much out of this piece of paper as possible. And there we go. Doesn't have to be too big. Again, because we've already identified where we want it and how to fit it in there. I think it's going to be swell. All right, let's get some scissors on these. All right, and again, I'm going to just check my cutting to make sure. I got some weird bumps in here, so let's just do a quick trim. Yeah, easier to do it now. Easier to do it now. Once you get it pasted down, it's more of a heartbreak. So I think that's good. And now come down here. What do you think? What do you think? Pretty good? I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. We're getting this kind of, yeah, I don't even know what to call this. All right, let me get some glue on this guy. Okay, and get you into place. Again, I'm trying to make sure that there's tight between the different flat edges here. And let's get this rollered. All right. All right. Oh, so happy with how that's coming along. So happy. All right. I'm looking at this space here and thinking, I want to do something here. I don't know yet what it is. Let's look up here at this space and see if there's something we might do on the top part. We've got a lot of white space there too. Again, my intention is not to obscure all of it. We definitely want to keep some of it, but I don't think it's done yet. I think we need something to balance things off a little bit. And one of the considerations here, if I'm, I could bring a half circle in like this, and that'd be obviously, different orientation than everything that's already here, which might make it really cool. The question is, what kind of color do I want? Let me, I have a thought on this. I have a thought. I'm gonna go to my red book, and let's see what I have in here. Well, that's pretty bright. It's pretty bright. I'm thinking more of a faint pink. Let's see what I have in here that I can work with. Looking for some pink. Interesting. I've got some pink, actually. It's kind of a Pepto-Bismol pink on one side, which is kind of cool. But I think this lighter pink in this area, again, I can dry fit it. I can put it in there. Look how nicely this color reacts with the goldenrod over here too. So since these are going to be next to each other, yeah, that might be really cool. That might be really cool. All right. So again, I think that's going to work out beautifully. Let me figure out how to cut this and fit it in here. Grab my compass and let's get this as wide as possible. My thought is this piece of paper will fit almost all the way up. Maybe I don't go all the way, but pretty close. I'm going to try to fill up this distance as much as possible. So let me see if I come in here. Okay, no, that's way too big. So let me make it just a little bigger. So So there to there. I think that's going to work out nicely. So let me just get this on my cutting mat, and I'm going to drag a line. And I think that's going to be just about perfect. Okay, so we have our pink color here. Let me get some scissors onto this. Alrighty, look at that. We have an expertly cut out piece of paper. That's what we have right here. And if I put this in right like that, it fills this side, gives us just a tiny bit of white space. We're going to obviously trim off that rag edge. And let me just look at its proper orientation. I kind of like that. And again, we're creating new areas here. We have a curve that's kind of the interrelationship where this white is. All right, yep, you know what? I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes. So let's get this in here. We'll put our glue on the pink side, which is a great color. We'll have to figure out how to use some of this a little bit. Now I need gluing music. Okay, let's get this over here on the side. And again, I want to make sure it's butted up right over here against the yellow. And we'll bring it down the edge. Now, by the way, just as a tip and a trick, sometimes when you're trying to fit things together, it can be a little bit more challenging. And you can have a little overlap. You can trim it off later. You can just flip it over and say, whoop, got a little bit of extra pink. No worries. I'll just trim it. No one will ever know. All right, we're getting some good stuff in here. That looks awesome. That looks awesome. All right. So what should happen next? What should happen next? You know, I'm still thinking, I got this big white space here. I got a white space here. You know what? Having a piece here that is interacting with this pink piece as well as the blue piece could really dress this area up. And again, I think having some white space in here is a definite necessity. But here's a thought. Here's a thought. Let me go back to my reds, because what I'm thinking is if I could have something, again, that kind of plays against the pink here, maybe is a little bit brighter from a red, but also the contrast between the red and the blue could be really powerful here. And I've got some super bright reds in here. And I think, like this one here, I think this actually would work out really well. And a piece here that has a relationship between this pink and has a complementary relationship with this blue could really work. Now, how do I fit it in? Do I hang it down like this? Does it come up here and do one of these? And I don't think so. I'm actually thinking that we'll kind of orient it yet another way. Maybe we'll have a kind of a flat side here. And we'll just, yeah, let's give that a try. Again, if we don't like it, you know what we can do? Cut another piece of paper. Yeah, it's a lot easier. We have a lot of flexibility here. So let me grab my my compass, which I've hid under 14 books of paper over here. And let's see what we can do to kind of fit this in. I'm going to, again, do a little pondering here from a size standpoint and say, well, if I were to create a shape to fit into here, how big would it need to be? So let's say kind of something that a little bit smaller than that. All right, so kind of run from here through here. Actually, a little bit bigger. I have a different idea. Well, you know, instead of having something that fits in here, let's create something a little bit larger that actually goes off the sheet here, and we'll just trim it. We'll just cut it, and it doesn't have to be a problem. So I'm going to say, let's make it a bit bigger. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But let's start with this idea and see what we can do. So I'm going to grab this piece of paper, and yeah, it's about where I want it to be. It's about the size I think that will work here. Okay, well, let's grab And drag a line for our red piece. There we go. And get some scissors on that. Yeah, I hope the cutting music was nice, because it definitely needs some. All right, moment of truth. Again, proof of concept. What's in here doesn't always mean it's going to work in here. But I was thinking something like that. What do you think? What do you think? Again, there's no right answer on any of this. Now, we could come down here and, create a relationship like that. I don't think I like that as much. I think having straight lines, because we're already working with a straight horizontal line, we have straight vertical line there. I think, yeah, not making any angles is going to keep this more consistent. And if we just do something like that, again, this will be cut off at the top. We have this white shape that's becoming part of the artwork now. You know what? Yeah, again, you don't know till you go for it. I say go for it. So let me get some glue onto this piece here. All right, and yeah, so some some good gluing music there. I'm gluing my hands, it turns out. So we find the paper towel we've tucked over here and unglue ourselves. There we go. All right, come on, baby. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we get. And I'm gonna try to make it as vertical as I can, just eyeballing it there. And are you vertical? A little bit more vertical, I think. Again, without dropping a tool on here to figure out how square that is, I'm going to just eyeball it. I think that will work. Oh, I like it. I like it. I like it. Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna trim this off. I have my my trusty quilting ruler here, which allows me to see through and gives me a good straight edge when I need one. And since I don't need this rag edge or the top of this red shape any longer, let me grab my rotary tool. And I'm going to trim this guy off. Victory is ours. We have some adhesive on that. But oh, look at that. Oh, yes. It worked. It worked. It worked. It worked. All right. Now, do I want to have any more colors? I mean, for example, I could put something in here to really pop that piece a little bit. Something to think about. And do I want to do anything down here? I think I do want to do something down here. Again, I'm not fully sure what that something is. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reach into the piece of pink that we used here. I have the back side of it. And you know what I like? I do like this Pepto-Bismol pink color. I'm going to create an arc that will sit inside this. And we'll pop that out a little bit more. How about that? So, again, it's all kind of developing as we do it. Let me get this measured. And how big do I want that to be? That's probably big enough. That's probably big enough. So let me get into my paper here. Create an arc. Yeah, actually I can. It's funny, you do find yourself saying, if I can, however much paper I can save means I get this color to stick around a little bit longer. And because these paper books are getting harder and harder to find, it's not a guarantee that I'll be able to lay hands on it. All right, that looks good. Good curve on that. I'll put you in the paper bin, and again, yeah, I think that really introduces again kind of a commonality between these different pieces. The larger pieces have a core to them. I like that. I like how that's turned out already. Let's get some paste on this. So, glue sticking. figure out that edge there. Perfect, perfect. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball where the center is here. And hope I'm close-ish. All right, I think that's going to work. Big gumball. Oh, very happy with how this came out. All right. You know what? I think this base is done. I think the white here is going to balance things. We don't necessarily need a complementary color on that red, although we could play around with that idea if we wanted to. There's nothing wrong with that. I think we're going to leave this alone. We're going to leave that white. And down here, again, I want to balance it up a little bit. And I don't want to have all of the white space on one side unless it works. I mean, we have kind of a curve there. That way we have some curves going this way. I'm thinking a curve that kind of comes down like this and works with this green might work. From a color standpoint, we haven't broached the purples yet, and that might be a good place to go. And by the way, purple and green go really well together. They're good complementary colors. So let me look in my bin here. Let's see if I have something that will allow me to. This piece looks like somebody sat on it. It's also not big enough, so maybe not that one. And I have more of an aubergine, I suppose. But I think this would actually work. This would work. And again, we may not go all the way down to the bottom of our paper here, but something we can kind of arc and share this space with a purple. Yeah, all right. Well, we don't know until we try. So let's just get a sense of our distance here. So if we're going from here to here to here, a little bit wider than that. So from here to here to here to here. I think that's good. That's going to work out for us. Now, if we can get it out of our piece of paper, that'll be even better. So all right, we have a line in there, and again, time for some cutting music. Alrighty, so that looks pretty darn good for our first cut. And again, let me just dry fit it in here and say, if I were to put this in here like that, will it work? And I think it will. I do think this might need to have a secondary color in it. We'll figure that out. I don't know. I'm not sure everything needs to, but it definitely could. And again, we've got some great curves in the white here, making a big difference. And again, this idea up here, I don't think we need additional shapes there. No, I think we're good. All right, let me commit to this and get this guy glued down. All right. Here we go. Well, actually, let me get it pushed over just a little bit. Yeah, get it right on the edge. Get it up tight against the green before the opportunity fades. There we go. Got just a little bit of movement on there. Wow. Wow. You know what? And by the way, one of the things that every artist has to kind of deal with along the way is there a point at which I'm going to overwork this? And the answer for this one, since we really designed it to be simple and based upon curves and colors, is definitely yes. But I am thinking, I do like how the complementary core colors on these different pieces really pop. I think they make a big difference. And I'm going to try to do the same thing here for this purple. Do I want to do the same thing for the red and the green? You know what? Let's test it out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Let's talk about the purple color there. And I have a lighter purple. So instead of having a brighter color inside a thinner color, we're going to Now that's one possibility. Let's see what else I have in here. Looks like I have the same color there. And this purple color here, it's subtle. I think there are two different color families though, so maybe not that one. And that's just looking inside my scraps. I mean, there could be a number of different colors I have in my books that I can peek at as well. Let's take a quick glance at some of the blues. Oh, those are mostly blues. Okay. Some of my polychromatic colors is kind of some darker and some lighter. Actually, you know what? If I were to compare it against this one's a little pinker. I like this one. It's more neutral. So I'll grab a sheet of this purple color. And again, let's just create a core here. I think it's going to work out well. Let's get a sense of size with our compass. All right, maybe a little tiny bit bigger. And yep, I think that's going to work. All right, find a way. And there is our possibility. All right, I'm going to have to get that just trimmed up a little tiny bit. We'll get some rough spots on there. Not so terrible. Okay, so again, with a dry fit on that. Yeah, I think I don't think it takes anything away. I think it does add a little something, so we'll consider that a win. And let's get some, get that in the center best we can. Looks good. All right. Now, are we missing anything? Are there other shapes that we should be put in here? And I'm at that point where I don't want to overwork this. I want to have something that's really going to grab the eye. And again, it's just about taking the kind of a visual journey. When I see this on a wall, does my brain go, ooh, look, that's fun. Almost like a slide, right? The colors, how they work together, the curves. Do I need to complement the red color and the green color? You know what? My gut says no. These are really just splashes of color. Now, again, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes what I'll do with a piece like this is I'll just set it on the, someplace where I can look at it. And I'll have it sit there for a few days. And, while I'm sitting at my desk, I can look at it and say, I'd change that. And it's very funny because your brain will always work on it when you look at a painting, at least mine does, where you'll say, that needs a little more color over there. There's something that's really imbalanced. So I might sit at someplace and say, let me look at this and see where it should go to. But for now, I'm feeling okay with it. I don't want to overwork it because I think it's going to destroy the magic of this, such as we have it. So anyway, the purpose of this exercise, of course, is to share with you that with a few relatively simple items, a glue stick, some scissors, and some paper predominantly. It's nice to have the compass. That came in handy. The ability to come in here and just create something that is a splash of color. Now, again, it doesn't have to be high art. It's our art. It's something that we could feel comfortable putting on the wall of a room in our home, in a children's bedroom, or just someplace where we really want to have something that really kind of just pops. And I think this does exactly what we want it to do. So I'm going to put this up on the gallery. Yeah, I'm going to figure out a name and obviously get it laid out so you guys can see what it looks like before I see what it looks like. But I think we have a success here. And again, the goal of the 1 hour masterpiece is simply to say it doesn't have to take a long time to create a really nice piece of art that you can share with other people and have in your home. And I hope this was a fun exercise for you as well, if you are following along. So I'll get this up in the gallery. And by the way, check out the description. There will be a discount code for this piece in the gallery. I'll give you a good discount. Anybody who's interested in purchasing this. And by the way, there's only one of them. So once it's gone, it's gone. But I will share that with you. and we'll make it worth your while. And that's it. I guess we have arrived at our destination, which is we have a finished piece of art to work with here. And I'm delighted that you took the time to spend time with me today on this. Thank you so much for coming along. By the way, please click on the like button for this video. It really helps YouTube get this video out in front of a lot of other people who are also hoping to find their inner artist. And I appreciate any of the time you spend with us here at Mixed Media Masters. It really means an awful lot to us. And by the way, if you like what you've seen and you want to do this on a regular basis, hit that subscribe button. Yeah, every time we pop a video up, which is at least once a week, you'll be notified and an opportunity to follow along with future projects. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.